The quadratic formula. Hello, in today's lesson we're going to solve quadratic equations using the quadratic formula. This is the fourth method we've learned to solve quadratics using. The first was taking the square root, the second was completing the square, and the third was by factoring. In this lesson we're going to use a formula that will help you solve any types of quadratics, okay? So hopefully you got your notes out. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, the quadratic formula is used to find solutions to any quadratic equation written in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Now the 0 could be in front. It could be 0 equals ax squared plus bx plus c also. Okay. Now it's important, if the quadratic is not already in this form, you must rearrange it so that you can, before you can solve it. So if you'll look at the example I have here, it's not written, it's not equal to 0. So all I'm going to do is I want to make this side 0, so I'll subtract 7. And that gives us 3x squared minus 4x minus 2 equals 0, and now it's in the correct form. Okay? Alright, now the next thing is the actual quadratic formula. The quadratic formula is right here. It's used to find the value of x, or whatever the variable is in your quadratic equation. Alright? And it's written this way. It is x. To find x, I'm going to take the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And if you'll notice this plus or minus, that means we're going to get two solutions. We're going to get opposite of b plus all this divided by 2a, and the opposite of b minus all of this divided by 2a. Now if you have a question of where this quadratic formula came from, we're not going to go into deriving it in this lesson, but just know that it basically comes from completing the square. If I have a quadratic in this form and I complete the square, I can get this formula from it by doing a few steps. Okay. The next thing is you're expected to memorize the quadratic formula, to know that, and we're going to learn a little song. There's one attached to the to your Sophia lesson, and then we'll also do it in class for you to learn it. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get started on our example in this problem. All right. The problem is to solve using the quadratic formula. We have x squared minus 5x plus 4 equals 0. Now notice it's already in ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 form. Alright, now there's no number in front of the x squared, so I'm just going to put a 1 there. And that 1, that is our a. This minus 5, since that's with the x, that's our b. And the 4, that is our c. Okay, now c is positive because it's plus 4. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so to solve this, I'm going to plug in these a, b, and c values into the quadratic. So x equals the negative of b, which is negative 5. Alright, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so my b is negative 5. We put it in parentheses in case you use the calculator, and then squared minus 4 times my a is 1 and my c is 4. That's all going to be divided by 2 times my a. Okay, and I color coded this for you as we went. Alright, so let's start simplifying now. So x equals the negative of negative 5, or the opposite of negative 5 is positive 5, plus or minus the square root of negative 5 squared. Negative 5 times negative 5 is 25. And then I've got minus 4 times 1 times 4, so that's minus 16. And that's going to all be over 2. And let's simplify that just a little bit more. Let's do our 5 plus or minus. The square root of 25 minus 16 is the square root of 9 divided by 2. Okay? Now, if you'll notice, the square root of 9 is actually 3. So let's rewrite this now. We'll do x equals, now I'm going to write two different equations. 5, and I'm going to do the plus, because this top part is plus, so I'm going to do plus, square root of 9 is 3, all over 2, or we'll do our 5, and then we'll do, since it's minus here, we'll do minus 3 all over 2. Alright, and the last step is we'll just simplify that. 5 plus 3 is 8, divided by 2 is 4, or 5 minus 3 is 2, divided by 2, 1. And there are our two solutions. And you could of course check these by taking 4 and plugging it in for x there and x there, and then do the same thing for the 1, plugging in, and see that you get 0 when you do all that work. Okay? The next thing I have for you here is our hidden example, and what we'd like for you to do is we'd like for you to solve this one, and you're going to answer some questions in your WISC based on this hidden example. Okay? And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it for the lesson. If there's something you didn't understand, you can go back and rewind, or if you want to go back and rewind, take notes again, you can do that. And make sure that you complete the WISC, and we'll see you in class.